Hi, this is Karen Brady from Black Swan Journals, and I had this idea for gratitude on the go. So I made these tags, and my idea is, well, it's not really my idea. Many people do this in various ways, but I wanted to as well. And my way is making these tags of gratitude and words of encouragement or hope or love or peace, and leave them randomly around. Here's a little folder that I made from some junk mail and scrap papers that I'm going to store them in with this paper clip. And then when I go out to do errands or go to work or whatever, just tuck it in my bag. And when the moment strikes me, I'll just hang a little tag wherever. Maybe at the post office, maybe on a walk, and hanging on a branch in a tree, in hopes that the right person in need will find it and hopefully create a little bit of a butterfly effect. So we're going to make a tag on camera together, but I wanted to show you some examples first of what we're going to make. So I leave the back of the tag blank to write a message of gratitude on right before I go to leave it and hang it somewhere in public. And I used junk mail, scrap paper, parchment paper, die cuts that I made, fussy cutting from magazines, some digital papers. That's a wooden bead up at the top and a little Tim Holtz crystal and a little wooden tag that says "with love." And each of the tags has a little pocket on the front as well. And for the pieces up at the top to hang it, I used embroidery floss that's metallic. I used twine that's dyed so that it could coordinate with each color on each tag. So here's one that says peace. Oh, and on the backs of each of the tags, what I'm pointing to now, I started out creating a background on all of them and then decorated. So on this one, I used a stencil and some ink to create that crackle effect on the back. And then chose some blue twine so that it would coordinate with the ink. And there's another crystal and a little wooden bead. And then I used some gold on this tag too for accents. I love gold. It's so pretty. The way the light catches anything metallic is just so pretty. So here's another one, little bird that I fussy cut, more metallics, little paper you can take out that says "Make a Wish." And this one I used some lace instead of the twine, floral lace, to create the string for the tag. And plenty of room on the back to write my message. Here's another one, and these I fussy cutted and inked around the edges. And the background I used a stamp. Here's an Amazonite bead and some grosgrain ribbon and the same metallic fibers on the top. This one's got a hollyhock die cut, a script background that I stamped, an owl that I fussy cut, some flowers, and some jewels on there, and also an Amazonite bead and some gold jewels there, and a little ribbon scrap for a pocket. And now we're going to make one together. So here I've got some pieces, and I'm brand new to YouTube, so please forgive me that I'm not quite all the way up in frame, but I do move it up later. I will get better and more professional as I go. My aim is to teach and to share and make friends with like interests, shared interests. So I love to teach and I love clarity when I'm taught, so I will definitely get better. But anyhow, so I've got a tag that I stamped with the linen stamp, and to create the background, I put a William Morris wallpaper on the bottom to create a pocket. And that little teal thing I'm touching now is actually a die cut that I made that's actually purposed to become a label, like to put a sentiment on. but I thought it looked like a cloud. And I have a moon here that I watercolored some papers with metallic paints and then cut this little circular shape out to create a moon. And I've got this hot air balloon vintage image that I'm sort of creating a sky scene, an ethereal kind of scene, whimsical. In case, somebody like we all need to let things go. So I thought this would be a nice, just sort of prompt, a visual prompt. Hopefully when you see this to let something go. Also, my sentiment will say let it go. to just sort of like bang you right over the head. Just, this is what you need to do. Well, maybe you don't need to, but if it's your time to, then it's your time. So here I was deciding between two scrap papers. I had a little piece of a seagrass wallpaper there that I really like the texture of. But in the end, I decided with this scrap paper with the metallic circles on it because I really liked the way the circles sort of spoke to the circular moon and the circular hot air balloon. So just to everything kind of speaking to each other with similar shapes here, I'm gonna go for the scrap paper with the circles. And here's a little paper flower that I'm going to add, and some leaves that I've got too as well that I'm gonna put on and create a little floral image down there. And the strings are the dyed twine in the orange to coordinate, and eyelash trim and metallic embroidery floss. So now I'm going to glue things down, just sort of checking out the arrangement here and the composition. So many times I've just, I don't know if I was in a hurry or just, just didn't take the time to really check out composition too much and had an idea of what I wanted and start gluing, and then, oh dear, it's stuck to the paper and that's not where I wanted it. So it does help to really check out composition. What do they say in carpentry? Measure twice, cut once? Yeah. So I'm using art glitter glue here. And for anyone that's new, there's no glitter in it. It's just the brand name. It's got a really nice narrow tip, so the glue comes out really fine for detail. It's a very strong glue, but it does dry very quickly, so you don't have a whole lot of time to work with it. But that's also a benefit that it dries quickly. I like to fold my papers over when I'm decorating if my base paper is a little thin. It really helps strengthen the card overall. And the junk mail I started out with was just really thin flyer paper, almost like copy paper. And then the parchment paper I had that I put on top to do my stamping on is also very thin, maybe like 24 pound, something like that. So when you glue them together, it definitely thickens up the card. And then when you add your decoration on, you're even adding even more thickness. It's good to keep that in mind if you're making a journal, because your journal can get super bulky if you make all your pieces bulky that are going in it. But I like weight. I like heft. I don't know why. I like sturdy. I like weight. I like heft. I always have. But as I get older, your hands start to I don't know if it's arthritis or what, but your hands start to hurt, and so weight is now a consideration for me. I'm starting to second think weighty things. But anyway, so yeah, I'm just trimming the papers to size, securing them on. I love those William Morris papers. I've always loved his designs. So I tried to spread my glue based on experience, and put it right where I know it's going to bleed to the edge, all edges of the paper I'm gluing down, but not seep out. And if it does seep out, you can use a damp cloth or whatever to sort of, wipe it off, and it pretty much goes away. This glue dries clear anyhow. But I use my bone folder to press so that all the glue goes to the edges. So here I've got some Memento ink in teal zeal, and I'm going to just sort of ink around the moon that I cut out, and just to pop it off the page a little more. It helps really have that line of demarcation to help separate it from the paper. And gluing that down now. This is a dye ink, so it dries really fast. So I feel confident to use wet glue with this ink, fresh, freshly put on. But if it was a pigment ink, they're very juicy and they take a long time to dry. So if you're using pigment ink, just be careful, because it can kind of go all over your project if it's not dry. But if you're doing mixed media or junk journals, the beauty of that is, like, who cares? It just adds to the character. But if you're doing something more precise, maybe something you want to look a little bit more clean, then that's a consideration. Pigment ink versus dye ink. Dye ink dries quicker, pigment takes longer, and definitely can smear if you don't let it dry. So yeah, I'm just gluing down the hot air balloon now. And I love to overlap things slightly when I'm collaging. It just makes things not floating out in space, which is no pun intended here, because things are kind of floating, with the hot air balloon. But it really does help ground things and connect things, join them together visually. So love this bone folder. You could also use a brayer, to glue things down. That works well too, or just your hands, but that can hurt after a while using your hands. So now I'm using my label that I die cut, aka cloud. When you were a kid, did you love looking at clouds and just, like imagining what they were? I always loved that. Yeah, just seeing the shapes and different animals or patterns up there. When I was on the swing set, I used to swing high and look at the clouds. Love clouds. They're definitely a nice way to relax and take it down a notch. Just stare at nature, stare at clouds. And give gratitude while you're doing it. Definitely give gratitude for the things that are here, that help us. So the card is a little wet with glue, so I'm sort of bending it with my fingers there to put it back into a flat position, because wet glue does curl up your card a little. And here I'm inking around a sentiment that I printed out, that says moonflowers. And I'm going to stick it in the little pocket there. And all the ink is going to be in the same color to coordinate on the tag. And also, you can just stick things like this under a heavy book for a few hours or overnight. And if you're worried that any of your glue has seeped out, though, you really should put it in some like grease paper or wax paper, so in the morning you don't find that it's stuck to your book inside. Been there, done that. But here I'm inking up the edges of my flower. Don't be afraid to put ink on anything you want. Test it out, try it out, and see if it'll take it. Most things will take it that are porous. So I thought some teal on the edges of that flower would look really pretty. And here I'm using Fabrifix glue. It's also, another name they call it is Beacon 3-in-1 glue. And the reason why I'm using this is because it's much stronger. It's an acetone based glue and it's really strong. And it'll hold that paper flower on there really, really well. more so than glue stick or art glitter glue. I wouldn't trust glue stick to do it at all. Because I want these things to last, and maybe it means something to somebody. Maybe they have a little altar at home that they can add it to, and or maybe they can just keep it with them, use it as a bookmark or something, or hang it in their car as a reminder. A reminder to be grateful, be happy, be thankful, spread love, spread gratitude. So here I'm gluing on the little leaves. Now I'm going to take this teal ink and ink all around the edges. It really helps make the card really pop out and all the colors pull together, especially when I put the blue twine on the top. And I always turn it around and ink the back as well, because you kind of have to keep your tool kind of angled toward the side you want the ink to go on. And the more straight you keep it to the paper, the more you really don't see much ink if you want that look. And the more you tilt the pad and angle it, the more you're going to slide it on the back or front of your paper. Just giving it a little wave to dry that dye ink, which is a quick drying ink. Oh, oops, I didn't use a blue twine here. Sorry about that. I'm using the orange to coordinate because the paper has orange on the bottom. Yeah, pull out that orange. The blue would have been too much. Yeah. So I left this part in the video. I didn't edit it out in case anyone needs to know how to do this. But you just collect them up. You can put it through the front or the back of the hole, and you just pull it through. If you're using multiple strings, it really helps to pull them individually tight like I'm doing now and not all together at once. I find that they don't really stay secure when you do it all at once, but if you give each string, or just at least a few, a good tug, it really secures it down. So there we go. So here I'm threading on the bead and the crystal. And I don't think Tim Holtz's crystals are, they're probably not real crystals. I just wanted to mention that, but I couldn't find my bulb pins. The other tags have those, but it's buried somewhere off camera there. So I found a gold paper clip that was near me within reach, and I used that as an alternative and put the little crystal and the little bead on, and just twisting the paper clip, thread it through and then twisting it shut. And then I end up wrapping the top sort of down and in, because I don't want anyone to like poke themselves or, hurt themselves there. So here's the finished tag. Oh, so pretty. And like I was saying, I'll handwrite a message of gratitude on the back, or hope, or whatever I feel is needed, and leave them about town, and hope that the perfect person finds them in need, and I hope it puts a smile on their face.